Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Donald Trump's poll numbers are now tanking on immigration. It's the issue that fueled his election victory and where he previously had the strongest support. But not anymore.
Trump's net approval rating on immigration. Got 5 numbers for you across the screen here. A lot of focus on Gallup at minus 27. That's horrible. Quinnipiac University, minus 16. That's awful. Marist is bad at minus 9. Ipsos is minus 8. Fox at minus 7. Bad. So going from your left side, bad, to just downright terrible on the right side of your screen, the American people have turned against President Donald Trump on what was his best issue.
Until a few months ago, a majority of Americans supported Donald Trump's immigration policies, but a majority also felt that all migrants deserve due process. The Trump deportation rates have frequently thrown due process out the window.
What you're doing is kidnapping.
The immigration raids are sparking chaos and violent confrontations, including this one Thursday at a cannabis farm outside Los Angeles.
In that raid, Trump ICE agents allegedly tried to grab farm workers based on their skin color. And Border czar Tom Homan on Fox defended the actions.
Look, people need to understand, ICE officers and Border Patrol, they don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They just need, it's a totality of the circumstances, right? They just got through the observation, you know, get articulable facts based on their location, their occupation, their physical appearance.
Actually, Homan's claim is not true. The courts have ruled repeatedly that racial profiling is unconstitutional. And recently, a federal judge in California put a freeze on the random ICE raids.
A federal judge in Los Angeles ordered the Trump administration to temporarily halt the indiscriminate immigration stops based on race or language. Detainees must also have the right to legal counsel.
The judge's ruling, while based on the law, would likely get the support now of a majority of Americans, given that polls show most Americans in Donald Trump's second term have not only turned against Trump and immigration, but have also turned against the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency.
ICE's net approval rating. In Trump's first term, the average was 0 points, right? So right there on the bottom, as many approve as disapprove. Look at where we are now in June of 2025. Minus 17 points all the way down. So the bottom line is this immigration crackdown not being viewed popularly by the American public, bringing Donald Trump down and bringing immigration and custom enforcement down with him.
The biggest drop has been among Hispanic and Latino voters. In the November election, Donald Trump got the highest share of those voters of any Republican presidential candidate since polling of Hispanic Americans began more than 50 years ago. Many voters said they came to the U.S. legally and resented fellow Latinos who snuck across the border or jumped to the front of immigration lines by claiming asylum. Also, Latino voters said they supported Trump's pledge to crack down on violent migrants and gang members. But the Trump deportation rates have been random and scattershot. According to federal government data, more than 90% of those arrested and deported have no criminal charges other than the immigration issues. In other words, instead of targeting the bad hombres, as Donald Trump pledged, ICE agents have been sweeping up peaceful and productive migrants, terrifying and infuriating the Latino community.
His net approval rating among Hispanics in February was pretty gosh darn good for a Republican at minus 2 points. Look at how far it's fallen now in June, according to CBS News YouGov, at minus 26 points. And I should note, CBS News YouGov is not alone on this. This is what we see in the averages as well. Donald Trump was doing historically well for a Republican amongst Hispanics in terms of his net approval rating, and now he's basically back where he was during his first term, which is quite a low approval rating, one in which has brought his overall approval rating down amongst the entire electorate.
According to multiple reports, the drop in Latino support has both angered and panicked Donald Trump. White House officials say Trump has lashed out at aides over the polls, calling the numbers fake news while simultaneously strategizing over ways to reframe the message. For a few days now, Trump has been softening his overall rhetoric on immigration.
We want people to come in. We need people because we have a booming business climate now. And the farmers need people, and hotels need people, etc.
In that same Fox News interview with his daughter-in-law, Donald Trump seemed to acknowledge his deportation raids, while successful in his mind, are not popular.
We've done a great job. And the problem with doing a great job that fast is people forget, you know. Last time I did a great job, we had a border problem, nothing like it was this time. but we had a border problem, and I solved it in about 4 weeks. And I'd make speeches and talk about the border, and my people would say, "Sir, you shouldn't even waste your time. Nobody wants to hear about the border." Now it's starting to be again. You don't hear about the border anymore. We did numbers that were unbelievable, and I almost can't talk about it because nobody wants to hear it.
Even Donald Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, is engaged in damage control now and backing away from his previous assertion that ICE can make arrests based on physical appearance.
I want to be clear about that again because my words are taken out of context. Physical description cannot be the sole reason to detain and question somebody. That can't be the sole reason to raise reasonable suspicion. It's a myriad of factors, and I could sit here for the next half hour and give you all the factors. So every officer, every situation is different. But I can tell you this: every ICE officer goes through Fourth Amendment training every 6 months and reminded what their authorities are for arrest, detention, and questioning. So the officers are very well trained. So I look forward to DOJ litigating this judge's decision. Because I think she's making a decision while knowing what that officer knows when they get out of that vehicle to question somebody.
While it may be true that all ICE agents go through Fourth Amendment training so they understand constitutional rights, countless raids captured on video indicate the ICE agents either don't understand constitutional rights or deliberately disregard them. In any case, the judge's ruling in Southern California has blocked ICE raids in 7 different California counties. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the district judge is undermining the will of the American people. Immigrant legal advocates say to the contrary.
I don't believe that. I don't believe American people are for the violation of people's due process or constitutional rights.
A new Gallup poll shows views on immigration shifting. The poll finds that fewer Americans, 30%, want immigration decreased compared to 55% just last year.
The numbers are a dramatic change in a short amount of time, and analysts say it's not just due to the images of peaceful migrants being rounded up, arrested, and taken away from their families. The deportations have also impacted the U.S. economy, causing labor shortages in agriculture and construction industries. As a result, prices have gone up. In other words, Americans are seeing the impact of the deportation raids on their finances. Altogether, it means that Donald Trump is in deep political trouble. And that's not even counting other issues now angering many voters, including the apparent Jeffrey Epstein cover-up. Still, immigration was always Donald Trump's strongest suit in political polling. But like so much else that Trump touches, much of the public feels misled, and that what Donald Trump has done is not what he had promised. In some ways, Trump's aggressive overreach has boomeranged, because even if much of the American public doesn't quite understand due process or constitutional rights, the images of peaceful people being dragged away from their families by violent mass government agents has largely caused voters to recoil. And the sickening scenes of the so-called ICE Gestapo are all on Donald Trump. By the way, the Trump-loving governor of Texas is now getting called out for diminishing the significance of people killed in the floods there. Governor Greg Abbott compared the disaster to a losing football game.
I'm going to use your words. Who's to blame? Know this. That's the word choice of losers. Let me explain one thing about Texas. And that is, Texas, every square inch of our state cares about football. You could be in Hunt, Texas, Huntsville, Texas, Houston, Texas, any size community, they care about football. High school, Friday night lights, college football, or pro. And know this, every football team makes mistakes.
This man is unequivocally the most callous, incapable governor the state has ever endured. Every single disaster we encounter is met with his dismissive conjecture, calling people losers for wanting answers and making an effing football analogy when 100-plus people are dead and 160-plus are missing is insane. You don't get to play the everyone makes mistakes card when this was avoidable. And the losers are the leaders of a state that has a budget surplus and refuse to pay for sirens and alert systems in an area called Flash Flood Alley because it cost money. Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Bernadine, who wrote, He didn't give a crap about children being murdered in Uvalde. What did you people expect? I hear you. I look forward to reading your comments about Donald Trump panicking as his approval ratings on immigration issues plunge. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.